Okay. So I had a profound experience. Actually, the experience is very subtle and you could say regular, but it's very important. That's the thing. I mean, the most important things we miss because they're subtle. Like intuition, for example, is super, super, super subtle, and yet it can save. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily save your life. No, I wouldn't say that because when you die on time. You never give up your body unless. Anyway, you don't give up your body, anyways. The soul never gives up the body unless it wants to and it's ready. That's the thing. So even when you get murdered, it's part of the soul plan. But that aside, that's not what I wanted to talk about. So this is what happened. The door rang, and my neighbor, the neighbor's lady, she stood in front of the door, and she was quite upset about the windows being open in the hallway, and it's winter, it's cold, it's stormy, and I do open them up during the day when I go out, and I close them when I come back in for her. But I do open them up for fresh air because there's people smoking. Anyways, so the thing is that she was upset, and I looked at her, and I was open, like my energy field. I opened to her. I opened to her, and I saw her. You know, it's like that was the message I was giving. Was like, I see you. You know, I see you, and I want to hear your needs. I need to actually. If I am to accommodate someone's needs, I need to know what they are. So I was trying to also understand what her needs are, and she got that. And anyways, then she changed the subject. She started going downstairs, and in the end, she gave me a pot of honey, and said if I were ever bored, I could come visit. So then I was back in my apartment, and I noticed I noticed like, oh, there's emotions in me. It doesn't feel so good. Like I feel upset somehow, but I wasn't upset. But I felt these emotions like, ooh, it's like I feel really, wow, today is a really emotional day, you know. and it was like, I think I'm gonna have to go sit over there and meditate for a while, which means it's just a word for saying sit and feel. And as I already started, as I was aware of it, so I already there and then began to feel. And just began to feel it because I realized it wasn't pleasant. So as I was feeling it, it's always that way. When you begin to feel the unpleasantness to that degree that you feel dissolves or begins to dissolve and eventually dissolves. So it's your medicine. The feeling of it is your medicine. And then, but it didn't go away. That's the thing. And I was doing my thing, and I was just thinking, wow, it's really intense. It's still here. And then I realized I still feel her. I am still feeling her because there was nothing in my field, nothing that I knew of why I felt this way. So I realized I took it on from her. It was hers. And then I realized, well, it just came to me that even though I was feeling it, but it wasn't getting any better, in a sense, it was still like really this stressful emotion. Yeah, it's like a stressful emotion. And I realized that I was through the thought that it's not mine, it's hers. I was keeping it apart, but it was in me. I was keeping myself apart from what I was feeling, even though I said, oh, I want to feel it, but it wasn't really dissolving, because there was this more subtle understanding underneath that it's not mine. It's not mine. And in that second, in that moment, I realized, so much came, that it's exactly the same thing like I was describing when the demon came to me. That happened, actually there was a phase when they came every night, but it was subtle until that one night where it wasn't subtle. And then what happened, because it had built up to that, I was aware that all I needed to do was to feel myself. I did not have to be open to the demon at all, because that's, how should I say, that's not true. It's not my truth. I don't want to feel the demon. I don't want to be open to the demon. No. That's not it. I actually don't want the demon to be there. I actually want it to go away. That's my truth. And I don't want to feel it. So the way to do that is to be at one with what you're feeling. And that's the whole, that's the clue. That's the clue right there. Okay? You never, ever, 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 ever have to be open to someone else. Only to yourself. Only to yourself. And so that's what you're feeling. And it's this thought in your mind that what you're feeling is not yours, it's somebody else's. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. I don't want it. Yes, it's true. It doesn't feel good. But as you notice that it doesn't feel good, it's already yours. It's your feeling. It's happening in your body. So in that moment today, as I realized, I'm carrying this around with me now for an hour, because I'm not taking it to be my own. I'm not taking it to be mine. And in that moment, as I realized it's mine, even though it came from somewhere else, it's all like this big streams within streams, rivers within rivers. In that moment when I realized, oh, it's mine, whatever I'm feeling is mine. It was like, I literally felt like a bubble pop. It was like that. So I had been keeping myself apart from what I was feeling, because I thought it was and it's exactly the same thing with the demons, that when they came subtly, I was able to build up to that point, because I realized that I need to, as soon as you are in fear, it gets, you give them energy, they get stronger, the negative feeling gets stronger, it's like this snake biting itself in the tail. It self-perpetuates. Whether you're ascending or you're descending, it self-perpetuates. And your consciousness is the navigator. Your consciousness is the navigator, so if you're unconscious, you can be hijacked and taken to where you don't want to go. And then you're like, in your unconscious, that's exactly where the soul loses control. That's the place where the soul loses control. That's when, you're sitting in your car and it's just it's not steering right. It's not, the brakes aren't going right, in the dream. It's also that feeling for the soul. And so I realized that it's so subtle. It was a very subtle thought. Oh, I'm keeping it apart because I'm thinking it's not mine, because it came through her. So that's one thing that's very important. Now the other part is that it would have been immediately dissolved, like immediately in that moment, if I could have been that open. Yeah. Um, However, if it has something to stand on, like if somebody else's emotion has um, an equivalent in you, it can latch onto that. You know, it needs to have something to stand on. If you're wide open, and you're just pure love, then it instantly all gets healed and dissolves back into harmonious. You know, the stress is healed, is dissolved. The vibes, the vibrations, the waveforms, if the heart is completely open, because the heart, this is a whole other fascinating topic, the heart, with its energy field, yes, everything that is pulled into the energy field of the heart, it goes faster and faster, it gets pulled in faster and faster, faster and faster, faster and faster. Everything in the heart has space. Every wave is welcome. It's called perfect embeddability. The waves are perfectly embedded, and as they move into the heart, as they move more into the middle of the heart stream, they go on forever. That's infinity. That's the infinity portal. That's the portal into pure light, pure consciousness. But everywhere where we are not, where we are identified, where we are in form, and that is in our heart field, everywhere where there is a place where you are a match to that emotional frequency that the other person is bringing to you, and by the way, otherwise it wouldn't come into your field if there was zero, 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 zero. It may come into your field if there is zero, and then you are the healer. I mean, then it's like Jesus, right? Then it's like people coming to Jesus to be healed, because his field is so, his heart field is so huge that everything that comes to him, gets healed. So with Jesus, you could say, oh, like this law of mirror, that the law of attraction, the law of that you. That your outside world is a mirror of your inner landscape. So with beings that are Christed, or which is in Tibetan tradition, it's called Buddha, but I think it means exactly the same thing. It's a state of evolution. It's an evolutionary. I don't know about state, but it is a being that has evolved to, after a certain degree, it has that Christ grid Merkaba. It spins at a certain frequency, very, very high. It's funny to say it for a human being. You spin. The atoms in your field spin so at that vibrational, at that frequency, like your whole field is at that frequency, and still you are able to hold on to the physical body and share space with other beings that are vibrating much, 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 much lower. And there you can't say, oh, okay, it has something to stand on, or it's a match to what's inside of them. There, it's the opposite. There, with Christed beings, with Buddha beings, it is that they are the light. They are so light. And then, the moth to the flames. Everyone comes and is attracted to the light, because they then can see themselves in, first of all, because it feels very, very, very good. And you look into the eyes of a being such as Christ, which I actually have experienced that in a dream, yeah. and you are so loved, and they love you more than you can love yourself. That's basically it. And in their eyes, when you look into your eyes, you're at home. And that's what heals you, because you are seen for who you truly are. Even if you can't see it, they can see it, and you can see that they can see it. And it is that love that you remember. You just remember who you are, not with your mind, with your heart. Your mind cannot fathom it or tell a story about it, but you feel. So anyways, but in this case, in most cases, and you can tell the difference if there's still something inside you where that is a match to that, even if it's just, in proportion, a fraction, like a tiny fraction of the proportion that it was in the person in front of you, that is mirroring what is inside of you. It could be that it's just an iota inside of you, and outside it's like huge, and yet it's ready to come up. It's ready to come back home. That emotion is ready to be felt, and you can only feel it. You can only feel it when in your mind you are not thinking it's not mine, and you may not be even aware of it, because that's the experience I had, because I was thinking, why am I still feeling this? Even though I'm sensing it, I'm feeling it, but it's not going away. And then I realized, because I'm thinking of her, I'm thinking that this is exactly her energy, and it doesn't feel good, and okay, I'm keeping myself apart because it's not mine. But obviously it's mine. Where is it happening? It's happening in my body. Anything you feel is already yours. Anything you feel, it is your reaction. It is your emotions. So even if someone else triggers that reaction, and you're like, ooh, I don't like that. I don't like how they feel, I don't like how they feel. I don't want it. And you distract yourself, and you feel really bad because you are not allowing yourself to feel your own, what is there, because you think it's from someone else. And you're thinking about them, and you're like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. And the whole time you're suppressing your own emotional landscape, Ooh. That's like it. It's subtle and it's huge. That switch. And I really got it in the night when the demon came. And first I was scared. He triggered fear. I was dreaming, and all of a sudden in my dream became lucid. So I woke up in the dream, and I was getting cornered. So in the room was beginning to the furniture in the room, they were like cornering me. They were moving and putting me in a corner, and I recognized that sense, the presence of a entity that was very scary. Like really goosebumps, hair standing up in the back of your neck, scary. So, and I'm already, I was awake, and then I knew what was going on. Okay, there's a demon. And first, so this fear was like, and then he had power because he got the loosh from me, and then I felt him, literally, I say him, I mean the entity, I felt it literally, physically, I felt it slam into me, ram into me, it was phenomenal. The physicalness of it sometimes it can be phenomenal. And in that moment, I was, everything happened so quickly in the mind, like within split seconds. This understanding happens, the logic, one after another. Like, it's a demon. Okay, what do I need to do? Not be afraid, right? How do you not be afraid? um, feel yourself. And I had the clue there because I think I talked about it in the earlier videos, because I had been um, prepared in a series of nights. It's interesting because after that, nothing happened anymore. That didn't happen anymore. By the way, that was the last time it happened. Or since then, it hasn't happened again, you know. I'm not saying, I don't know if it may happen again, but I'm not afraid of it. It's like, for me, it's training, you know, that's the thing. I welcome it. If it happens, it happens, and all that it could be is training for me, because I have that experience. So I realized that all I needed to do was to feel my own body, and feeling my own body, which is allowing all the feelings that you're feeling as your own. You have to know that they are your own feelings. Yeah? Because, I mean, think about it. Where are you feeling them? Where are you feeling your feelings? In your body. You're not feeling them out here, you know. I'm not feeling them here. I don't feel this here. Even though it comes from another being, yeah, it's triggered by another being. And it is also not only triggered, but if there's nothing to trigger, it comes from another being. But you see, the trigger is... The trigger is that there is just the possibility that there is still that active belief in me, unconscious, that separation exists. Yeah. And so that's the potential. That's the ground that any kind of negative emotion then can stand on. But when you understand this, and that's what, you know, that's why I'm talking about this, so I knew all I need to do is feel myself. I'm not embracing the demon when I feel myself. And so in that moment, I just like, boom, you know, I just, instead of focusing on, there's a demon, you know, or on him slamming into me. By the way, this was in split seconds. This maybe took a second. I just feel myself. And in that moment, when I just like felt myself, and thereby also, you know, you allow, you welcome yourself. That's it. You welcome all that you feel. That is welcoming yourself. You welcome all that you feel. And that's what just drains. It dissolves, not drains. It dissolves your fear. And as your fear dissolves, you cannot feel the demon anymore. I mean, it dissolved with the fear. And I woke up, and there was this dissolving. So it was interesting because as I woke up, I still felt the presence, but it was more like an aftermath, maybe the memory of my body or something like that. And it was leaving. Because when there's no fear, there's no way a demon can get to you. And that's why they only come at night, in my experience. Because that's when you're, so to speak, open to your subconscious, and there in the subconscious, you know, that's where there are still beliefs that you're not aware of, that are believing in separation. So you know, because you know, and then that can attract a demon because that's where they live. They live in that complete belief of separation, not knowing that it's a belief. Yeah, they're completely unconscious about of God, the fact that they're unconscious about actually the truth of life. Yeah, that's what makes them so afraid, and that's what makes us so potentially afraid. And gives them that access when we are when the mind is asleep, and then there's the subconscious mind that takes over. All the unconscious is then, it doesn't have anything to hide it anymore. Yeah, so that was a very nice experience, very good experience, a very good reminder.